Pastor Larry to come up here with me for a minute. I want to give him a real big thank you for providing this facility for this meeting. And mostly, not Pastor Larry, but just like most pastors, he gets the credit for all the hard work that the other people did in getting this prepared. But that's okay. But I would like for Pastor Larry to open us in prayer.
Can you bow your heads with me? Lord Jesus, as we gather here today in this town meeting, we only seek your guidance and your wisdom. Bless Fannin County, our community, with unity, understanding, and empathy as we discuss matters that affect us all. Bless our candidates with clarity to present their vision for Fannin County and office they pursue. In Jesus, I pray, grant us the strength to make decisions that benefit the greater good and uphold the principles of justice, equality, and compassion. May our discussions be marked by civility and respect for one another's opinion. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together and work towards a brighter future for our county. Yes. May our actions today be guided by a spirit of cooperation and goodwill. I ask these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Yes. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's get started. First of all, I'm Wes Davis. For all of those that may not know, which looks like 98% of it. My wife and I moved here 5 years ago into Fannin County. We thought we'd get out of town and get somewhere where it was a little slower. And then someone just described it to me as a concrete tidal wave is on the way. So what I've learned in the last few months, I had a gentleman come by and tell me, he said, hey, they're going to appoint a new county commissioner. The existing one, she resigned. He said, you should do that. I said, well, okay. Maybe you're right. Now, I didn't say it just that quick. I prayed about it. I thought about it. And I said, yeah, I think maybe I should try that. He said, you could be good at it. And so I made the decision. I put in my application. I'm one of the 10 that put in an application for County Commissioner Precinct 1 on the appointment process of that. What I learned since then is that guy that asked me, I really don't like him much.
He's here, isn't he?
He might be. And the other thing I learned, though, seriously, is that the opportunity for corruption in our sleepy little villages around here is very real and very possible. And we have to become an educated voter at minimum. And sometimes some of us don't like to be too educated because it's a lot of work usually. But it's real important. And so the only way that we can become an educated voter is to ask a lot of questions. And then demand some answers. And when someone points out a red flag, don't assume it's accurate, but you gotta ask questions. And you gotta search for the facts. The important thing we've got to remember is the only thing we can rely on really is truth. And we've got to have proper facts, and it will always support the truth. So before we get started any further, I'd like to recognize we've got at least a couple. Anyone that is running for office in this next election, would y'all please stand and be recognized? I'm going to let y'all introduce yourself, your opponents, but I think it'll be okay.
I'm William Robertson. I live lived here my whole life, current police chief in Trenton, and I'm running for Fannin County Sheriff.
Thank you, Lee. And of course, they sit on the opposite sides.
I'm Cody Shook, and I'm the police chief at Hector, and I'm also running for Fannin County Sheriff.
Thank you. Now, why that's important is I'm a firm believer that we need to know them. They're going to watch me hobble up these stairs. We need to know who it is, because it's not about the most popular, it's about the right one for the job. Amen. And both these men, I'm going to assume, are wonderful, intelligent, and well-qualified men. But often it's the right one at the right time. And so we'll pray for that. Did any of y'all, I'm sure y'all are probably in the know, so does anybody remember what happened the last couple of weeks, the New Mexico governor, and what she said? Mm-hmm. The New Mexico governor did a gun ban. And she said it didn't matter about the Constitution. Her quote was, "No constitutional rights were fixed, including her oath," which everyone realizes an oath that every political office makes is an oath to uphold the Constitution. Now, no matter what you feel about gun rights or gun laws, I think the voters of New Mexico are a little bit disappointed, because the Constitution was built on biblical principles. And you know what the definition of an oath is? An oath is a solemn promise. So when she made that promise, it didn't take very long for her to decide, I'm going to declare an emergency, and I'll just do away with the oath that I made for everybody. We can't have that. We can't have that. We can't have a country built on a constitution if it means absolutely nothing. John Adams said, our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people. And our people are falling away from that, and our best opportunity is to try to lead them back in that direction, and to be a moral and a God-loving and a God-fearing people. So on that positive note, I'm going to introduce our candidates tonight. Our first candidate, Troy Wagner. Troy Wagner comes from, remember I just told you I'm 5 years here? Ravenna, Texas. I've seen it on the map. I was smart enough to ask him, how do you pronounce it so I don't look really bad? And then I almost forgot. He resides in Ravenna, Texas, born in Bonham, lives in Fannin County for 65 years, attended Savoy High School and Grayson College. He's a contractor for Terry Skipworth Construction, skilled and knowledgeable in all areas of construction, loves the outdoors, hunting and fishing, business owner for 33 years, farmer, landowner, married with 4 kids and 13 grandkids, loves and stands proudly for the USA, Texas, Fannin County, trusts all his life to the promises of God the Father, Jesus his Son, and our Savior. Troy Wagner. You don't have to say anything yet, Troy. Just let them know who I'm talking about. Troy Wagner. One more time. He'll be up here available in just a minute for some more questions. Okay. Thank you, Troy. Thank you. Our second candidate is Mitchell Smith. Mitchell Smith is an established construction industry leader, safety director for general contractor where he performs bid reviews, contract management, leadership coaching, a supervisor of safety team. Mitch came from a small town in Oregon coast. He started his career working as a mechanic, construction laborer, worked his way up as an operator and a manager, and eventually an owner. He's got vast knowledge and experience in all aspects of construction and management, from civil construction like roads, storm drains, and raw water treatment, water treatment plants, bridges, highway insulation and removal, to massive construction projects like high-rise skyscrapers and a $2 billion hospital they worked. Mitchell Smith has the experience and ability and heart for our country to provide the leadership we need. Mitchell Smith.
Just want to thank y'all for being here to start. Thank y'all.
Very good. So now we're going to take some questions, and I'm going to run through these real quick. Want to make sure if there's any questions directed to anyone specifically. I also need to make sure y'all realize I'm not paid to do this, because I'm probably not very good at it, and I've never done it before. All right, this question is for both of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the first one that just raise your hand a little bit. You can stand up and respond, and then the other one will have an opportunity if they've got something to add. What do you consider? Sorry, told you I'm not a professional. What do you consider the upside and downside to having a road and bridge engineer? We'll give that one to Troy. He's grabbed his microphone.
One of my main concerns with the
Put it up higher, Troy.
bigger,
To you.
one of my main concerns with the engineer is we've got probably 4 different bosses that they're going to be working under, and they're going to be having to go from one to the other to get what they need to get done. I think that it's going to have to take more than one person to do that, because you're going to have so many different departments, as far as one for brush cutting, one for culverts, one for roads, and then you'll even need an emergency crew to take care of anything like storms, washouts. And my main concern with doing that is the budget we have right now is not feasible to pay someone with that kind of qualifications. That's why I got up and spoke against it 2 weeks ago.
Very good. Very good, thank you. Would you like to add something?
Hello, y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think mine's probably louder, huh? That's
You can make it
part of my
louder.
personality too. I apologize for that. But let me start off by saying, Mr. Wagner here, I have great respect for him, and I have talked quite a bit, and he is got the same passion and heart I do for our county. That's why we're both doing this. We invited everybody that was interested in being a commissioner for Precinct 1 to step up and join us at this event, so we all could hear everybody's heart and mind. And we're the 2 that showed up. They were all invited, so that kind of says something by itself. But just going to there, when it comes to the road engineer position that they're talking about, there's a right way and a wrong way to go about this. If we're talking about bringing from what was described to both of us and the rest of the people that have been talking with the judge and the other people in the county, the intent was to, in the meetings they had with us, they told us their intent was to hire a new person for a position as a road engineer that's an experienced person that was potentially going to be a six-figure plus position that would be an appointed position, not an elected position. And when I asked the question, well, who would oversee that person? They said, well, it's kind of a position in their own. Well, appointed people have somebody over them because they're appointed. So it's not a scenario of them being elected and having the community to answer to. It's to an individual that appoints them. So that's the first red flag that I had with the issue. The other thing that really upset me was when we brought this up. Troy and I have heard the same thing. Wes has heard the same thing.
Thunder.
Wow. It upsets God too, you hear that? The other thing that upset us.
That's an amen.
Yeah. Amen. The other thing that upset us was we've been told this directly from that team. And then when this gentleman spoke up at the commissioner's court the other day, they completely told the opposite in public on record from what they've been saying to all of us. So I don't like double talk, and I don't like speaking both ways. There is a way to do this. There is a way to address the roads. But the other thing is the roads, and I don't want to go too long on this, but the roads are not the main issue. The roads are the shiny penny, just like Mr. Trump's impeachments, to take your attention off what they're really doing in the background. And I know I've already seen some of the questions, and they're going to come up, but what's happening in the background is what's more concerning than just the roads. There is a way to address the roads, and the way to address the roads, and one of the things I had suggested with them was first, transparency. Identify, document what you're working on and what we're doing. And I'm glad to say that we saw that the person that they put in place is now posting the information. And I appreciate that because that's what we asked them to do. The other thing is there is, in leadership, you always try and find where your team is best. You find where they excel. For years in construction and the industries that I've worked, you always find somebody that's good at something, and then you find what they're weak at, and you spend tons of resources trying to strengthen their weakness to make them better at their weakness, when instead we've learned over the years that if we capitalize on their greatness, what they enjoy doing, what they're good at, and we emphasize that in their job description and what they do, we have better production, happier employees, long-term employees, and just the overall work is going to be a better scenario. So when I look at this and I see the issues that we're talking about, we've got 4 different precincts. I apologize, you guys will have to stop because I will keep going.
Okay, stop.
Okay, sorry.
No,
Give me 2 seconds, I'll finish.
30
that.
seconds.
All right. You got 4 different precincts. You have people in there that are experienced right now that have been with the county for a while. My first note is we do not need a bloated appointed position. We need commissioners to own tasks. And what I suggested was we find the supervisor off of each team. You find out, have them go amongst everybody in the county and identify where the strengths are, where we're good at patching, where we're good at the tree work, where we're good at the road repair and the major storm damage stuff. And you put a foreman over each of those teams and you have them focus on nothing but those tasks across the county. And each of the precinct chairs would manage each of those groups. They could rotate in a time that was feasible to make sense to everybody. But it gives everybody a chance to, first of all, start at the bottom and work their way up. You get somebody out there that's picking up trash and trimming trees, they have an aspiration to try and make it to being a major road repair. So there's something for them to work for, right? And it all fits within what we're doing.
28 seconds.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I figured out something else. Since I'm not getting paid to do this, I'm going to do it from this nice chair right here. All right. Are all precincts equally funded? If not, why? What would you do to address this, assuming you think this is a problem?
Short, and I'll let you run with it. I'll keep this one short, I promise.
Okay, he said.
Sorry,
he's
guys,
gonna
I'll keep it real short. I want to give Troy time, but this is one of the things that started my passion to run for this position. We've lived in an area where I have two different precincts. The front, our road frontage is in one, and my house is in another. We're precinct 1. And I've been asking for 5.5 years that they would patch and repair a section of road since we've been there. And I've been told by everybody for the last 5.5 years, we don't have the money in precinct 1. I pay taxes to Fannin County, not to precinct 1. I pay taxes to Fannin County, not the precinct 1. And then when I started getting into this and digging into the budgets and seeing that precinct 3 has a reserve of funds, as a taxpayer, that makes me very upset. That's all I'm saying.
Very good.
I forgot to tell y'all, I'm failed public speaking, that's for sure. But Mitchell's right on point on that, for sure. There's quite a bit of reserve funds in certain precincts that should be used equally with all the rest of them, or divided out, or even maybe even put it into our precinct, which we're struggling a lot more, that we don't have the funding for our roads or some equipment, because our equipment's completely wore out.
Very good. Stay right there, because I'm gonna let you go on this one first. I know you got a passionate stance on it. What is your stance on countywide zoning and permitting?
I really don't believe that they should be doing that, for sure, because it's gonna be issue with maybe even somebody putting up a building right behind their house, or digging a pond behind their house out on their land. And if they can do that zoning and permitting, you're gonna have to have a permit before you can even dig a pond behind your house for your cattle to drink out of.
Very good. Thank you. Not gonna speak to that. Maybe we should have done this one first, but
You said you'd run that up.
Brother Larry didn't put these in order.
Okay, up there in a second. Gotcha. I'm asking a question and all I'm gonna do.
What actually is the responsibilities of the county commissioner? This really is a very important question, because I think 90% of the world thinks it's to take care of the gravel roads. And that's a very small part. Who wants to address that first?
Roads are just probably 25% of it. The county commissioner has to deal with the budget for the whole county, not just one portion. They've got to work on budget for all the different entities in the county, not just for the roads only, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's something I've been hearing ever since I first put my hat in the ring on the application process for that seat. And I knew right away from the very first time that I started watching what they were doing at Commissioner's Court that these guys are doing a lot more than just roads, so I started digging into it. I started digging into where the funds are for what they're approving, what they're not approving, digging into where the funds are that's supporting their different campaigns, and where the stuff is happening at. And it just blows my mind how they, again, like I was sharing, the roads are a shiny penny to take your focus off of the stuff that they're doing in the background. Even coming in tonight, I had a gentleman that addressed, hey, have you heard about what's going on? It's a question here, so I'm not going to dig into it, but some of the stuff that they're putting into play. There's a lot of stuff that they say in the spirit of transparency that they're sharing with us, but they're already tying deals in before they get to the point where they're saying it's transparency, and they're sharing it with us. And that's the frustration. There's a lot to this. Every county office, the sheriff's department, the elections office, that I'm gonna miss a bunch, so I'm not gonna list them all. Every one of their budgets go through the county commissioners to accept or reject. And one thing that bothers me is they never have any open discussion on any of the line items on any of the topics. If it's an open, transparent scenario, let's talk about why are we asking for, whatever the items are. Why is it that the sheriff's department needs a car? Why is it some of the constables have vehicles they're operating that have 300,000 miles on them? Why are you turning around and approving yourselves to buy new $70,000 trucks for the commissioners? That's the stuff that I'm saying, we need accountability in the budget. And it's going to take people that are going to dig into what's going on. And not be afraid to say something even when they get pushback. And all of us up here have already been getting that pushback.
Hold on one second, because I'll let you, go ahead. Yeah, add to that. Thank you.
I think both of us, for sure, would like to see the sheriff's department get a lot more money, because they're way under budget as far as salaries for the hours that they do put in.
Thank you. And then, this question just came in hot off the wire. So where does the reserve money some precincts have come from? So explain that a little bit.
So there's quite a few different things that can produce the potential reserve money. One of the things is not spending what they put in the budget for the year before totally on all the topics that they have. Sometimes employment, sometimes they say they have 6 employees. Well, they have that budgeted for that fund, and you would think as a taxpayer that funds would go back into the general deal, but sometimes they put it into a rainy day account or a slush fund or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes they don't earmark that funds for what it was originally earmarked for. The other thing is the way that they determine what funds go to what precinct. And again, this frustrates me because we are Fannin County, not precinct 1 versus precinct whatever. But the funds are broken up by the county by, I believe the last statement was by the road mileage, not the amount of people that are living in that area. And there's all kinds of discussions I've heard on both directions. We should break it up this way, we should break it up that way. I'm saying we need to have it as one budget, and we need to break up the task by the importance across the county.
I think Precinct 4's had a little bit of extra funding.
I'm trying to tell you to bring it up closer to your mouth.
Yes, ma'am. Is that better?
Yes.
I think Precinct 4's actually got some outside funding that they had come in, that they were doing a lot of rock work with, and they had to spend it before the end of the fiscal year. I believe that's right. And I think Precinct 3 has also got some extra funding from, I think, the water department or water district.
That may you're correct.
And that may be where some of their reserves is coming in to put in that rainy day fund.
Yeah, something that I just came to understand in the divvying up of the funds is it's done by road mileage. But each precinct is divided up by population. So each precinct has the same number of people, which means it has the same number of four-wheel traffic on every county road, has the same propane truck haulers, the same farmers, the same number, but you have more miles. So the wear and tear, where they have larger precincts per mile, they actually get less wear and tear. So to me, it doesn't make much sense about the divvying up of the funds by the mile instead of by the population.
You know, I think there's, when the census wasn't done in 2020,
Yes.
which is probably a bad thing because our precinct has grown tremendously
Yes,
since then.
yes.
Quite a bit more than precincts 3, for sure.
Yes, very much so. And it puts us to a great disadvantage. We get the funds divvied up by the mileage of roads.
Yeah, just to clarify what he's talking about, it was shared with all of us. We don't know it to be factual, but we were all told by the people during the process of the appointment that there was individuals in our county that told the census people not to fill them out because they thought that was some government oversight of us not realizing it was appointing funds. We don't know that it's 100% factual, we don't, but it was what was told to us directly by the people that were trying to appoint that position.
Okay, here's a question. It says, how much experience do you have in road construction? And I'm sure it's something to do with road construction, but I apologize, I can't read it. So how much experience do each one of you have in road construction and understanding that?
So, as a kid growing up on the Oregon coast, I worked several different jobs to make ends meet. I worked as a mechanic during the day. I drove equipment and operated equipment. And I also, for a while, was driving a log truck and working in the logging industry, trying to pay the bills because thanks to policies that came into place as a kid, we went from an 8% unemployment rate to a 67% unemployment rate in one summer due to the policies that killed the logging industry, the fishing industry, and the farming industry in that area. And it killed it when I was just getting out of high school. So we had to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. And one of the things that I started with was running a dozer and building logging roads for the logging company up on the coast where it's mud and red clay everywhere. So that's where I started. And then throughout my career, I've worked through leadership as boots on the ground all the way up to safety director for companies where we've done some of the largest highway projects. We tore out the Doyle Drive access to the Golden Gate Bridge, 1.5 miles in 48 hours. That was filmed. It's on CAT's website as an example of the company I work for in our planning to do that. We also, so I've done the demo side of it, and then also all the way up on working even just recently, 3 years ago with AEP, building roads to their access points to their stations. So my whole career been dealing with the roads. And the main thing that's a big difference in all this stuff, there is not one Band-Aid for one road to fix all of them. Every soil type's different, every drainage issue's different. There has to be, every step of every road has to be addressed by experienced people that can identify what we need for that road. Sometimes we have to put geomatting in to make it soil structure. Sometimes we have to put in 3 or 4 inch base to build up so it doesn't just sink every time it gets damp. There's all kinds of different processes that we have to look at.
Thank you.
I know I can't compete with that, but I have done a lot of work on roads. Just for instance, we've always built our own roads at the farms, most of them, and through pastures. But you do have to have all the drainage right to make sure that the roads don't wash out, and especially in the curves and towards the. You need riffraff down on the end of the drainage going into the creeks to keep from the bridges and washing out and down on the sides. But there's a lot of, like Mitchell said, there is a lot of different soil types in our county, and then even in our precinct. It starts out at white rat with black dirt. 6 inches down, you may be hitting white rock. And then on my end of the county, it's just maybe sugar sand. You ain't even got no bottom. Right now, you'll get stuck. you won't be in no mud, you'll just be in just deep sand. But there's a lot of different issues that we'll dang sure have to address on getting bases put on some of those roads.
I have a question regarding the roads, but I don't have another card, and for both candidates. Do
Okay.
you favor crowning the roads or spreading the gravel as it's done now?
Spreading the gravel ain't doing not one bit of good. The roads have got to be crowned. The ditches need to be cleaned out. Right now, what they're doing with that part of it is spreading that out, and they're not even taking the edge of the dirt, which is leaving a ridge on the side, so that all the water's running down each side of the road and ruining the base that's already there.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
And of course, I'm not a candidate, but I'm going to speak to this because the reality is we need some intelligent man that has some road experience, but we've got access to all kinds of knowledge from other people that have already paid for it from the expense of very experienced engineers, that we can get that information. We can go to Grayson County. We can go to Collin County. They would text us. They would love to share this information. We don't really have to spend 6 figures on a road engineer, except for maybe special projects. And those special projects, let's hire a road engineer or a bridge engineer and get some third-party responsibility. In other words, if something goes wrong, it's not just the county that's bearing the responsibility, but a third-party engineer in their firm is responsible also. So,
What he's talking about is shared liability. And anyone that works in any large construction stuff, you know that there's a value in shared liability. If the engineer designs something out, and we follow it to the T, and we document that we follow it to the T, and then something fails, we have shared liability to fix the issue instead of the county taxpayers having to fund the whole bill.
Exactly.
Kind of like our courthouse.
which brings us to the next question. Great segue. How would you fix the courthouse problem, repairs needed, and who is responsible, and how would you hold them accountable? You want to hold this so you can see all the different? Yeah. And then pass it off.
We had a gentleman that was in there this morning speaking on this very issue, and his name was Jason Walker, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's who it was. And he is very knowledgeable about this. I was really loved to, if y'all have been there, to heard what he had to say. And he's works on projects is like this for sure. And he was talking about what they're thinking about doing is getting somebody in there to fix the concrete problem for the drainage before they do the electrical work. And he said, if you go in there and touch that, and which he's probably right for sure, because he works on these kind of projects all the time. If they go in there, if we go in there as a third party and mess with that, then that releases them of all liability, and then we'll wind up paying the bill again.
Very good.
You don't need it no more.
Thank you. He's right. So the gentleman that spoke today is an experienced insurance loss control officer. We visited for a little bit. And the gentleman that shared today, it was 100% correct. and what Troy said is 100% correct. As when a construction project comes underway, there's a general contractor usually. There's always an owner of some form, a general contractor or a person supervising or overseeing the work, and then there's all the sub-tier contractors under that. In that process, there is an insurance requirement. A lot of times there's a bond requirement. There's a performance bond requirement. And all of these levels have to be completed to the engineered designs and specs to be acceptable, to be closed out, to be funded. We already know from stuff we've heard in the community that we didn't do everything we were supposed to do on the due diligence on that part of it. And so we have stepped in a little bit of trouble on some of it. But the Judge Cunningham has made it clear he wants to go and have the electrician company and the other individuals that knowably did not build stuff to code fix it. And in the process, Judge Cunningham stated that before I send the electricians in to do the repairs that they agreed to do, I want to fix the drainage down there, so we're going to have a third party come look at fixing the drainage to get the standing water out of there before the electricians go in. And that was what brought this topic on. Once anybody touches a completed work, especially after it's been paid for, they own it. So another contractor, us as an owner, if we go in there and we make any modifications, we run a jackhammer, well, you shook stuff loose. That sheetrock cracked because you touched it. My sheetrock was fine when I left and you paid me. The electrical, that water intrusion in there, that's your problem. It was fine when we walked away. That's how it works. Now, can we win this? Yeah, but you know what? It's going to be court battles if we don't approach it the right way. And that's where experience comes into play versus a bunch of individuals that are in leadership positions that don't necessarily have the experience in construction project litigation like Mr. Walker was sharing and like I have experience in. So.
Thank you. All right, I might need a little help on this one because maybe I'm just not in the know, but my curiosity is piqued, and I'm wondering if you are in the know. I bet Troy is, because he's a lifer. What are we going to do about Ivanhoe, Texas? Now, if there's anybody here from Ivanhoe, I didn't write this question.
What needs to be done about Ivanhoe?
What's up with Ivanhoe?
They are proposing to make a big community out there, from my understanding. How many? 3,200 homes on 900 and something acres. And they were wanting to have their own septic systems, own. No, a whole new infrastructure if they do that. And if it does fail, the county is actually responsible for the upkeep on that. I didn't know if anybody y'all have, how many of y'all has even heard about it, but they posted it on what's up and going on in Fannin County. Right.
Very good. Yeah, I was not aware of that. You want to speak to it?
Yeah, the thing that I'd seen posted and what you're alluding to there was an actual application with the water with the detail on there. So again, we're only going off what we're seeing. Not everybody has been truthful with us with everything, unfortunately, but this is just what the community's seeing. And we keep hearing from the leaders when we ask these questions, what about this? What about the peninsula at the lake with all the lots that are up there? You originally said it was going to be so many acres. Now it's decreased to a different level. Where does it stop? Where does the conversations happen? That's my big frustration. We hear about it by rumors and by stuff like that, and then next thing you know, they're saying we're being transparent, and then something's going into play, and we're like, it's supposed to be transparent. Let's be transparent. If there's a question, don't browbeat, and this frustrates me. How many people here listen to Commissioner's Court or go? I know you all, I've seen you there. Nothing frustrates me more than a organization that says that they're being transparent,
And then an individual, and I'm going to use his name, Mr. Ivy, gets up and shares his concern on the road commissioner topic, but it don't matter what the topic is. They share their concerns, and then one of the commissioners, and there's no other way to put this, browbeats the gentleman over his comment about challenging him about his experience as a road commissioner when the gentleman is just sharing his concerns. As anybody in leadership knows, if you browbeat people when they come forward to you on a topic, they quit coming to you. So if you want community involvement and you want community to be involved and transparent with what's going on, don't do that stuff. Give them the floor, let them ask the questions, and intelligently answer why it is correct or incorrect or what your goals are. But quit putting stuff in front of us through social media stuff where we're seeing where stuff's happening and then tell us it's not happening, and then you see it pop up on the agenda as a vote. We got to stop that. Sure.
Okay, these zoning changes are in the paper. In the paper from last week, there's 2 zoning changes. And they have a meeting before the court for the board, the zoning board to vote on, and then the recommendations made from that board to the court right after that. That information's out there. People can come and find out. It's not being done behind those doors. We fought a zoning change on our road and we won. Because we knew it, we went there and we fought it. We got the people to sign up to protest forums. It can be done. People are just lazy.
Well, I agree, it can be done, and I know for myself and for a lot of the people here in Fannin County, a lot of us work a lot, and not everybody's retired. Not everybody has the time to go to a meeting in the middle of the day. But those of us that are making it a point to try and do that are trying to get involved and trying to see this stuff.
Can I say something on that?
Yes, sir.
So, I live one road over from where this community is going to be. There's not been a for sale sign. There's not been any signs or anything in any paper that I've seen on this. The infrastructure for this is still in Collin County, working its way this way. If we hopscotch this deal to there, it's going to cause chaos. You don't have the power, you don't have any infrastructure, any roads, nothing for that to happen. And it's going to cause chaos. Then it's going to backflow on the county commissioners and all, because why did you approve that? Because the infrastructure is still that far away. And as far as that though, I've seen nothing on that. I got a post from some people out of Leonard where I used to be. And this is the reason why I left Leonard, because it was coming that way, moved out of it. I've not seen anything on this, other than getting a post from a friend of mine when they looked it up.
I believe, Mike, you were talking about the other one I was discussing, of the peninsula stuff, correct? Yeah.
Okay, is that in the zoning, the lake zoning?
No, this has to do with.
Okay, do you want zoning in the community?
Huh?
Do you want zoning in the county?
Do I want zoning
Do you
in
want
the county?
zoning around the county? Countywide zoning.
Do I what?
Countywide zoning.
Okay, what about
Do
it?
you want it?
Do I want it? Listen, I'm a farmer and rancher.
Do you want it?
I want what's good for the farmer and rancher. Everybody's renting, I own, okay? And I want for my tax dollars not to keep getting raised because we're bringing stuff in because we need all this funding for the county. What are we gonna do for these farmers and ranchers that are getting all these taxes put on them and they can't afford their properties? So now if they're having to go to a travel trailer, or if they're having to go to rent, and they're having to sell off their cattle, at one point we gotta justify in that way. It put a lot of farmers and ranchers out.
So, gentlemen, I appreciate the topic. It's a passionate topic with everybody in the county. This is one that, when this question was asked of me with Judge Cunningham, I shared a view that I had on it because I've seen where the zoning and over-zoning has done negative, and I've seen where no control has allowed stuff to I'll get you 1 second, Molly, I see you. I've seen the both extremes, and there is a way to go about sustainable, responsible growth. We have to grow. In a community, we have to grow. But we can do it sustainably and responsibly. And my suggestion to Judge Cunningham was what I've seen when we do bid contracts, we set clear expectations of what the requirements are that we as a community agreed upon that we want to see in our community. You have to be providing employment for the locals. You have to be providing infrastructure sometimes. You have to be providing this stuff. It has to not be a negative impact on the roads or the community. If you're going to build in so much volume, you have to put an investment into the schools. Have the community come together, put the expectations down, and before any project comes forward to be entertained, they have to meet the criteria the community already agreed upon, that threshold, before we even talk to them.
Amen.
Molly, you had a...
Yes, thank you, sir. And I also live in, well, my mailing address is Ivanhoe, I live north of Ivanhoe in Tulip, Texas, one of the oldest communities in Fannin County. And we moved up here in 1980. My dad wanted to get away from Dallas. And that's the thing, all these people, oh, I want to get out of Dallas. I'm sick of Dallas. If you want to get out of Dallas and live in the country, then suck it up. You're going to have to live on a country road. If you want a paved road, take your city ass back to Dallas. It's that simple. And I'm sick of the farmers and ranchers being put out of business. And it's the CAD appraisal board jacking up their property rates, running them out of business. So what is the CAD appraisal board going to eat after they bankrupted all the farmers and ranchers in the county?
More transparency is what I'm asking for. That's it. And I don't believe that everybody's doing stuff nefariously, and I've made this clear. Some people just don't look past the immediate gain that they're looking at. They don't look down the road 30 years when we look like Melissa does now. 5 years ago, Melissa, you didn't see nothing from where Bucky's area turnoff is, but just a few businesses. Now look at it. You can't even, it looks like you're in the middle of McKinney, halfway up the road to the dumps. And it's coming this way. There is a way to do sustainable growth without negatively impacting the community. And one of those things on the zoning and the permitting that came up, somebody made the comment to me when I brought up my concern with it. They said, well, do you want to dump next to you? Well, first of all, we already have regulations that don't allow that, thankfully. There should be some regulation. But there's another thing that I suggested, and that's an idea that came up on my own back when I had a bad neighbor, and that's called the Good Neighbor Program, or the Good Neighbor Rule, where if you are a blight or a financial impact to your neighbor because of your property, your neighbor is required to do something to not negatively impact your property. So if they want to raise hogs off the property, then they need to do something, put up a tree line or something to give a separation between you and them. That's it. It's just being a good neighbor. And that's something that could be aligned, and that could be something that could be enforced. But a good neighbor program is a scenario where if they want to put up a bunch of sheds and do all their kind of stuff, do whatever you want on your property. You bought it, but don't make me look at the ugly garbage that you're piling up there. Put a fence up. Put trees up. Be a good neighbor.
Thank you. All right, very good. We're down to the last two questions, and I figured out what was wrong. Hello. Sorry. Troy and I really don't like the sound of our voices. All right. Given the current commissioners fired the road staff, what is your opinion on that move? And is there a way to remedy a sudden unjustified termination?
He at least should have given them folks a chance. He should have, I don't think there's any way, and he should have even thought about just going in there and firing everybody. Because he didn't even know where the equipment was or anything. those guys knew where all that stuff were. They should have at least talked to them, had them come out, show it, and give them a chance. If they didn't perform to the job that he sent them to do, then he's got reason to fire them. But just go in there and fire everybody straight out, that's not right at all.
Thank you.
My only note on that is, the individual that was working there, that was fired, contacted us, talked to myself. I think he spoke with you, and I think he spoke with you. And he shared that that's what happened to him. Then we started hearing the new person that was put into the position saying that it was a total different story. So I don't know the truth, I wasn't there, but we all heard it from the same guy that said he was let go. And if that is what took place, then the way you went about it's not right.
Thank you. Last question, unless something comes in on the wire. What are your plans to approve and manage the sudden influx and potential new subdivisions in Precinct 1? So this is really kind of an add-on question to what we've already talked about, but one of you would like to address that?
So we have everybody in our community. We have farmers. We have a lot of realtors. We have a lot of people that both will be impacted negatively and positively from the potential influx of the new residents that they're putting into place. I don't want to take food out of anybody's hand. I don't want to take food out of their mouth, but that goes for the realtors as well as it does the farmers. This is where I'm saying the key factor to all of this is more transparency, not in one or two newspaper ads, but being boldly out there and saying, this developer is approaching us on this topic, community, what's your feedback? That's what I'm asking for in transparency. And there is times that there should be some developments, but the developments really needs to be something that's not going to negatively impact the community that's already here and yet still allow us to grow our tax base wisely.
Thank you. Anything else? Got another question from the floor.
Thank you. This is not so much well, it is a question for the county, but I don't know to whom to address it. This is traffic. As we're getting more people coming into Bonham, we're getting more traffic. There was a time when I said a traffic jam in Bonham was 6 cars stuck behind a combine. One day I was on Center Street between Russell and 9th. It took me 15 minutes to get out of where I was onto Center Street. The other day, I was coming into Bonham. I was on 56 between the 121 and then 121 going north. I wanted to turn north. I pulled over into that lane. There were 20 cars in front of me, and I looked in the rearview mirror and I turned around and I counted 20 more cars behind me. That's 41, counting me, cars trying to make a left-hand turn. We don't have that kind of traffic normally. It wasn't a holiday. It wasn't a Friday. It was just a normal day. And I just want people to be thinking about what are we going to do about the traffic. I like to live here because we're low-key, we have easy traffic, but this is not going to stay. Thank you for listening to me.
Was that during lunch?
No, it was not during lunch. It was mid-afternoon. It wasn't at 5 o'clock, and it wasn't at 4 o'clock, and it wasn't at 3 o'clock. I
We
mean,
we may have to get with TxDOT and do some traffic surveys to see if we need to do some more turn lanes or even widen the roads in certain places. They'll have to do a survey to get that done.
So I have a question for both of y'all. In June, I work as the city attorney for Ravenna, and we met with Edwina and the county commissioner and the mayor of Ravenna and I. And we hammered out an agreement, it's an interlocal agreement, that the judge was going to work on, and that got stalled because Edwina resigned. But what we were envisioning is, because the employees of Precinct 1 were just working Monday through Thursday, they were going to drop off heavy equipment that the Ravenna guys were qualified to run, check it out, fuel it up, do road work in Ravenna, and then have it ready to be returned first thing Monday morning to the county. First of all, are you all in favor of a 4-day work week where there's a possibility of interlocal agreements with the area around Ivanhoe, Savoy, Ector, Ravenna, Honey Grove, all the smaller cities around? Are you in favor of a 4-day work week or not is probably the run-up question. And then are you in favor of us trying to work out interlocal agreements to where that equipment that sits on Friday and Saturday and Sunday can possibly be used by some of the smaller towns with qualified operators? Thank you.
No, I would prefer to, if you were interested in doing that, we did go to a 4-day work week for the precinct, that maybe one of the guys that's working for the county that's qualified to run that equipment. That way y'all wouldn't be responsible for something to happen to that. That would be what I would prefer myself, is one of my employees or the commissioner's employees or the county's employees to run that equipment for that, and maybe the Ravenna or Ector, Savoy, whoever they're working for, would pay them for that day.
Yeah, I see you. Let me address that too, please. So first of all, I'm sorry, I don't like sitting down when I talk. First of all, there's been numerous studies when you get into large projects. The question always comes up about efficiency of workers during extended hours, working 6 days a week, working 7 days a week, working 10-hour days, working 12-hour days. And most of the general contractors and large organizations that have done the legwork on this find there's a peak efficiency that you get the most out of an employee as far as output and work willingly in a 410s. You get the most efficiency for your dollar that we're paying them in that time frame. Plus the additional time off is a stronger recuperation and has them more willing in a more positive environment to come back. So I am for that, but that doesn't mean that we have to shut down the company the other days in the week. It's called staggered shifts. We do staggered shifts. We have crews that work the first half of the week and crews that work the second half of the week, and we have road coverage the whole time. That's my suggestion. The sharing of equipment in contracting, I've been on huge projects where we had multiple trade contractors working with us, and we've had, as an attorney, you probably have heard some of the different terminologies, but there's an IPD, an integrated project delivery program, and that type of stuff, where you actually have a joint liability on the project. So therefore, damage to equipment or damage to one of the individuals gets hurt on it, or they drive it into somebody's car and hurts or kills somebody, there's a shared liability with that type of a development. And depending on how the interlocal agreement was written and addressed the liabilities, that would have to be something we'd have to entertain in that method. Because the one thing we don't want to do, in good faith, we want to be able to get most efficiency out of this, but the other thing is we don't want to put a liability on one of our smaller communities or something else where the equipment or the community could be seriously affected.
There was
Thank you.
this gentleman here.
Okay, it was stated early on that the equipment in precinct 1 was the oldest, the most worn out equipment in the county. Is working it 3 additional days really a good idea on the worst equipment in the county? What about the increase in maintenance? Even if it doesn't break on those 3 days, it's going to break more often if it's used more often. I mean, come on now. The more you drive your car, the more often you have to change the oil. This increase in maintenance the dollars have to come from somewhere.
That was one of the issues that I've heard from Commissioner McQueen, that there was no maintenance on some of that equipment. And that's the big problem. It hadn't been taken care of. And there's other ways that we could probably check into, and that's what I'm thinking one of my objectives was to look at state and local and federal funding, maybe in grants for road issues and or equipment supplements.
There's another option that also is something that we shared. One of the companies that I worked for was one of the largest demolition contractors in the West Coast, and we had a large inventory of equipment, and we owned all of our equipment, and we had the funds to have high dollar analysis done on efficiency. And our company realized that it was more efficient for us to lease equipment because of the wear and tear we were putting on it, and to rotate it out with lease every couple of years, and then it's maintained from the company, usually Caterpillar or John Deere or Volvo or whatever, as an option. And I had asked that question to some of the commissioners, and they kind of look like deer in the headlights. So that's just one of the things that we could entertain. Not saying it's the answer, but if we could take the liability of the wear and tear off of it or reduce it by that, there's other options, is what I'm saying.
Hey Mitch, I'm glad you guys are here today. You guys run for sheriff. It's a big job y'all are going to take on. Transparency is, you're right, is the thing, okay? Example, what I was talking about earlier, when I had property in Leonard, we had a pipeline come through. We were working, I was on top of a hill, we looked down, pipelines, crews going across my property at the bottom. We go down, what are you doing? We're coming across your property. I said, no, you're not. And we're the pipeline, we're eminent domain. Give it your best shot, big boy. I said, this ain't gonna happen. Well, at that time, obviously there was no transparency because I called the county commissioner, which was Stan Barker. He didn't even know that they were fixing to tear up his roads and go across his roads. Now, there's no transparency there. That was a force I'm coming through, you know. There was nobody told nobody or anything, okay? After all the lawyers and stuff, I got my point across. But it is all about transparency. Whether in you guys' positions as sheriff or you guys' position, the public's got to know what's going on. That's how this is going to work.
Any other questions from the floor? Right there.
I'm directing this question to both of you, actually. What do you feel to be the top qualifications for this position?
Well, I believe that we all, as Fannin County residents, those of us who have only been here a short time, 5 years, some of them that have been here our entire lives, all know that there's stuff that's happening with our tax dollars are not efficiently being implemented. And the commissioners have made it clear that the limit to how much they can tax us is an opposition. And some of them have made the statement they feel like the lake was supposed to be a positive for our community. I think our biggest opposition and issue that we have is that people don't really realize the impact of some of the decisions they're making, or else there's nefarious works going on, one of the two. Either way, the lack of transparency is not allowing us as citizens to be comfortable with how our funds are being spent. So I think this position requires somebody to hold people accountable for what they're doing in our county.
Thank you. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, we've got to work with the other commissioners for sure, because there's got to be at least 3 of us to get anything voted in or out. And that's going to be the toughest issue that whoever gets in there is going to have, especially coming in there new. And all of us have probably got different qualifications. It's just up to y'all who y'all think ought to be in there.
Thank you, sir. One last try. Anybody else got a question? I want to tell y'all asked some tough questions, some hard questions. And that's what it's going to take. And it's going to take you guys going out there and asking, okay, I know your daughter had a softball game and you weren't at the meeting Tuesday night, but do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know about what this is? We got to educate as many as we possibly can. And we got to talk sensible to them. And we got to make sure that they care. And we got to explain why it's important. None of us want to lose any of our freedoms. We don't want any land problems. We don't want poor management, poor codes written, but we don't want to lose our freedoms. So I want to thank everybody that's here. Y'all did a fantastic job asking questions. Appreciate these 2 guys. I don't think you could go wrong voting for either one of them. They've got the right heart, got the knowledge. Thank y'all very much.
Does this conclude the meeting?
Amen.
Also, just want to, from us, we want to thank all y'all for being here and being a part of this. Yes, this was one we put on because when we started asking about putting stuff on, we weren't getting any straight answers, so we put this on to have it. And now I guess more of these type of things are going to come from the Republican committee and stuff that's supporting it. But
Supposed to be. I got a text today saying that they finally got it.
Yeah.
But we've never heard who's on it.
Yeah. Sir?
Yeah, my name's Wade Rosen. I'm from Precinct 9, Ravenna.
Okay.
I'm the Republican Party Chairman from Precinct 9. And we are going to have a public forum in January. It'll probably be around the 25th on a Thursday. We had one on the last election cycle as well, and we'll do it again this one.
Excellent. Thank you.
Most likely, last time we had it at the old community center. I don't think we'll have it there again. We might move it to the fire department. I still need to work those details out.
No, the plan is a multi-purpose complex.
What's that?
A multi-purpose complex is the plan.
No, not for mine.
Oh, just your.
Not for mine. Yeah, mine, I'm having it up in our community, so.
How are you gonna post it so that we know?
I'll put up a banner like I did last time, 274, so people living in that community will see it.
Is it only for Ravenna people?
No, anybody can come. We had a lot of people last time.
All the offices,
Oh, it'll be for anybody that's running in Precinct 9. So Precinct 1, the county commissioner,
What
the
about
sheriff department,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
anybody that's an elected official for Precinct 9.
Well, again, and thank you for that, and I do want to just thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the other gentlemen that are running for the other positions for sheriff. I wish you all good luck and for the best person to come forward on it. And just thank you to the church as well. And hey, can we get a round of applause for Wes?
Thank y'all very much for being here.